Hi everyone, this is Shujan from Speaking Roadmap. I'm back with another video. Welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm going to talk about 5 major mistakes that I made when I was learning English language. If you're a beginner or you already started your journey as an English learner, this video is for you. You should avoid these 5 mistakes to improve your English speaking. So without further ado, let's get started our new brand video. So the first mistake I'm going to talk about is think in native language. Instead of thinking in English, I always try to think Bangla to English language. That's slow down my English journey as a learner. If you want to improve your English speaking, if you want to speak like a native speaker, you should think English to English. Don't translate in a Bangla. Okay, it's just horrible for your English journey. Okay, this is mistake number 1 that I made. Okay, so step number 2, I'm gonna talk about fear of making mistakes. If you are a English learner, you already started your journey as an English learner, you should avoid this. Okay, so I made the same mistake. Okay, last couple of years I've been learning English language, and through this process I always think about fear of making mistakes. People will judge me, people laugh at me because I'm making a lot of mistakes. And think about your native tongue. When you are speaking Bangla, we made a lot of mistakes, right? So English is a communication language. So the main focus actually communication skills. Okay, don't think about your mistakes. Okay, mistakes are proven. You are trying. Okay, if you are a beginner, try to avoid this. Okay, making through this mistakes, you will be able to speak like a native speaker, right? So this is mistake number 2 I did in my whole journey, English journey. Okay. So mistake number 3, I'm gonna talk about memorizing, not practicing. Okay, if you are a beginner, maybe you started your journey by memorizing vocabulary and phrases and idioms and some grammar rules, and I actually did the same thing. Okay, started my journey by memorizing vocabulary, phrases and slangs. Okay, but the main thing we have to use, or we have to utilize those kinds of items in our English speaking, but we don't do because so many reasons. Okay, we thought, okay, by memorizing vocabulary and phrases I will be able to speak in English, but you couldn't able to speak in English by through these tools. You have to practice these items in your English speaking. So it was a biggest problem of mine in my English journey. So this is mistake number 3. And number 4 mistake I made is ignoring speaking practice. So I actually learned in my life a lot of vocabularies. Okay, reading book and watching movies and listen podcast, different kind of podcast I'll listen all the time in my life. So, but the main thing actually practicing. If you want to develop your communication skill, if you want to be a good English speaker in English language, you have to practice. There is no other way. Maybe vocabulary and podcast and passive learning will help you some sort of way. Okay, but if you want to be a good English speaker, if you speak like a native speaker, there is no other reason without practicing. So most of the learners, they learns, memorize so many things, but the main thing actually practicing. Otherwise you can't develop your English speaking too. So this was mistake number 4 that I made. Okay, so mistake number 5, I'm gonna talk about passive learning. Okay, most of the English teachers, most of the English learners, they don't talk about passive learning. Actually, last 3 years I have been learning English language, and through this journey, my biggest mistake is passive learning. When I cook, I try to listen, and when I work, I try to listen. When I walking through the street, I try to listen. Okay, that was biggest mistake in my life. I know passive learning help you to improve your English speaking all the time, but if you want to make your English speaking so high and develop in a faster way, you should actually avoid this passive learning. Passive learning creates passive results, and active learning creates as active results, right? So if you develop your English speaking like a native speakers, and to be honest, this is my opinion. Actually, I'm just following right now. Okay, I'm just an English learner. Last couple of years I'm learning English language, and practically I'm just speaking in front of camera right now. So I will all of my audience, I can suggest at least try to listen or maybe speak or practice in an active way every day, 40 minutes or maybe 1 hour for developing your English skill. Okay, so this is a number 5 that I made in my English journey. So these are 5 major mistakes I made when I started my English journey. So that's all for today. See you guys in my next video. Till then, stay healthy and happy. Bye for now.